Yo guys, what's going on? This is the Highly Advised Podcast, the best mixture of hip hop and MMA that you will find on the internet possible. I am here with my amigos and compadres, Saint Kitch, Lao Shay, aka Big Cozy. I am relaxing Noji_Jackson. This is episode 53 of the Highly Advised Podcast. We are up. It is early. I am energized. We have all types of shit to talk about. My friends are happy. Look at Spence's face. He looks happy.
Smiling.
Look at Loud's face. He looks happy. We are happy. It is Sunday. The sun is shining. Listeners, we are here for you guys. How are my friends? How are you guys doing?
It's not even a Sunday. It's a Thursday.
Whatever the fuck it is.
It's a Thursday. It's a Sunday. It's every day of the week. That's what it is. It's every day of the week, giving you everything that you need to know to keep you updated on what you have missed throughout the week, plus giving a little bit of an opinion. You feel me? So with that being said, I'm doing good, man. Highly favored, highly blessed. And listen, man, I'm feeling dry as Masvidal's head today. I'm not even going to lie to you. So, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, how's it going for you, Lau?
Man, I can't even mother effing complain. You thought I was going to cuss, but it's a new Big Cozy today. Yeah, there we go. See, I'm rhyming already because it comes natural to me. So shouts out to everybody. Shouts out to the listeners. Shouts out to my partners, my real life partners in the game. The real Get Money click. So shouts out to everybody messing with us on the podcast. I'm feeling good. It's your boy Big Cozy 2 Cozy, aka the main event. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. I'm ready for episode 53? 5-3?
I think so. I'm pretty sure it is.
It's 53.
What's that?
It's 53.
What's that in Roman numerals? An L and 3 I's?
I don't know. It might be like,
yeah.
Is it an L and 3 I's?
Yeah.
There we go. Boom.
Super Bowl 53, I think, just passed, actually.
Nah, bro, we passed that.
Yeah, I think we had. I think it was like 60 or something like that. But nonetheless, before we get,
where can the listeners follow us at?
Man, you can follow us on Highly Advised Podcast on the Instagram, Advised Highly on Twitter. You can also go and subscribe on the YouTube, Highly Advised Podcast, if you haven't done it already, because you got to stay up to date. So if you haven't, please do yourself the consideration, do us the consideration, like, comment, subscribe, give us some comments, even a little bit of feedback. Let us know what you like, dislike, or even if you agree or disagree with the opinions. Matter of fact, let us know what you want to hear. How about that? You tell me what you want to hear. If you like something, let us know more about it. That's all I got to say. So, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, check it out there. Highly Advised Podcast, Instagram, Advised Highly on Twitter, and the YouTube is the Highly Advised Podcast. So,
or we're breaking your neck.
Or we're breaking your fucking neck.
Straight like that.
Yes.
Boom.
So
that would have been a crazy segue into one of these topics.
Well, listeners, let's get into the topics. If you've been following us for a while, you know one thing we follow is MMA. Like specifically in this situation, UFC 261 happened last night. And let me tell you, it might be the craziest card that I've ever seen in my life. Like, so many different things happen. We're gonna run down the card, especially the main event, like the main card. We can start off with the first fight, really. What Jimmy Shoot was his name? Jimmy Crute?
Yeah, Crute.
Jimmy Crute went in there and fought Anthony Smith. Now, I was watching this fight with Lyle last night. He had hosted me at his house, you know what I mean? Definitely invited me in.
Yes, sir. At the Cozy Estates, the Palace, exactly.
Yes. I came into the Palace and we watched the fight. And in the first round, Jimmy Crute got caught with a leg kick that some people think they blew out his knee, in the first round, but he could not move. His ankle was flopping around and they stopped the fight.
Jeez.
That's pretty much it. I mean, you could also add that Anthony Smith was kind of cracking his ass with the jab throughout the round, but one good leg kick and it boom, he just couldn't walk on his leg no more, flopping around. Doctor called it. Good job to the doctor, because his corner wasn't going to stop that fight. They was going to keep selling him false hope and dreams. So going into the second fight of the night, which was probably one of the highlights of last night's craziness, was Chris Weidman breaking his goddamn leg on Uriah Hall's, leg. It was crazy. It was like Anderson Silva from years ago.
Anderson Silva-esque, like the way he broke his leg. It was crazy.
Should we start calling this like the Anderson Silva curse?
Nah. You know what's crazy about this is like it happened to Chris Weidman in a very similar way. And also Uriah Hall has had an interesting career too. Like think about this, like goes from knocking out Anderson Silva to then having the leg broken, having somebody break their leg by the person who beat him and ended the streak, It's just kind of weird.
Yeah, it's like Twilight Zone shit for Chris Weidman, at least because, all them years ago, he was the champ. He was the guy that beat Anderson, and in the rematch, Anderson broke his fucking leg from Chris Weidman checking his kick. Years later, Uriah Hall, he just beat Anderson Silva in his last fight, and fucking Weidman goes to kick him. Uriah Hall checks the kick, and that shit flopped. And Weidman didn't even know his leg was broken until he put his foot back down. And you could see in his face, like, oh my God.
I saw that. That looked so painful, man. Like, from just breaking my leg recently to seeing somebody break their leg like that and trying to put like the weight on there, I'm just like, ooh, like I felt it.
Yeah, his leg folded like origami. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I watched it, and it, like we said before, it's so reminiscent of what we've seen when he fought Anderson Silva the first time. And nonetheless, this is like really unfortunate. After seeing something like that, I'm quite sure like it puts him in a tough spot, especially even going through the healing. Because even when we saw with Anderson Silva, after that leg break, like granted he was closer to the end of his career, but he was never the same again as a fighter anyway. So it's curious. I'm curious to see what's going to happen for him, because that experience is going to be very instrumental in where he goes next in terms of his career. It was probably one of the most graphic things I've seen in the UFC, probably since the Anderson Silva leg break, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah, definitely shouts out to him. Like it kind of is shitty for Chris Weidman because he's had a history of, different injuries and whatnot. And I don't know what it is about people who happen to like beat like a lot of like the greats. It seems like their careers afterwards just take like some type of weird spin, especially for Chris Weidman, like I never was really the biggest fan of him, but it just seems kind of, I guess messed up that he can't really have the chance to actually fight out his career and just like rightfully lose, So it's unfortunate. That was, another fight. But after that, we kind of got into the championship fights, which there was 3 of them last night. Valentina, the Bullet, Shevchenko went in there and did exactly what we expected her to do, which was beat some ass and then come in and then go home. And that was pretty much it.
Man, what I want to say about Valentina is last week on the podcast, I said she was going to take Andrade to school and do whatever she wanted. I did expect she was going to do it in the form of taking her down 7 times in a row with ease, putting her in a crucifix and elbowing her until the ref was like, the fight is done. She took Andrade to school for real. She didn't even need to strike with her. She's like, look, you little dog, I'm going to take you down and I'm going to put you down. For you were not listening to me when I told you to stop barking. So she gripped her ass up, 7 takedowns. And Andrade, she couldn't. Usually she's the stronger, physical, imposing fighter. She's picking opponents up, slamming them on her head like she did with Rose, et cetera, et cetera. This time, nah, man, she met the wrong one last night. And man, it's time for Shevchenko to fight Valentina. There's not much to say on the fight, man, because she
beat her ass.
It was a domination.
She just went in there and took her down and really just beat her ass.
Yeah, you could even see it when even when Andrade tried to get into a grappling position to try to at least take her down, it was similar to what the father of the Ball brothers, right? It said too big, too strong. She just literally would just Andrade was just literally getting manhandled by Valentina. And it was just it just shows you that separation between the champion and the number 1 contender, because you could be a scary person, a boogie, whoever, But then when you go against the champion, it shows like, okay, there's a difference. There's a huge difference between the two. So Valentina, she went out there and proved to her, like, listen, we don't even deserve to be in the same weight class. You don't deserve to be in the same space as me. I'll take you down whenever I want to. I'll play whatever you think you're going to do. I'll do it. I'll play that game with you, and I'm going to dominate you there. After seeing that, it's very interesting to see what's going to come next for Jessica Andrade as well as Valentina, because after a performance like that last night, there's so much to be said in terms of like what's going to happen for that division.
I think that Valentina, Amanda, they need to do the trilogy because there's no one left for Valentina to fight. Amanda, I know she's fighting Juliana Pena, but can we all like agree kind of like, hey, she's going to do whatever she wants to Juliana. You know what I mean? So I hope both ladies can convince Dana to set that trilogy up because they're the two best women in the world when it comes to combat sports. They're the best.
Their situation kind of reminds me of when GSP and Anderson Silva were really dominating, and it's like, hey, like it only makes sense for them to fight each other at this point in time. Yeah. The way I see it is like if Valentina decides to stay down at her weight class and just keep on dominating, she can do it for as long as she wants and then retires. Because I don't see anybody beating her, honestly. And same thing for Amanda. So like I would like to see them fight. They don't have to fight, but it seems like the only fight that really makes sense unless we're just going to keep on running it back.
Yeah. And honestly, like I feel like it probably makes the most sense that they actually just run it back and have that fight, because similar to like what we saw with DJ during his career in the UFC, right? Where you're so dominated in your weight class that eventually it becomes boring. Like there's nobody else for me to watch. If I know you're going to go out and do whatever you want to do to your opponent, it's like, listen, let's get the scariest person who we may consider to be the greatest female fighter of all time, hands down one of the top pound for pound fighters within the UFC currently, and put her against Valentina Shevchenko. So it's like, and see what happens, because they're both too dominant at this point. So it is the fight to make. More than likely, like hopefully the MMA gods don't choose to like shake the dice up with the Pena fight and let something crazy, because that's how the UFC can happen, man. Like yeah. Next thing you know, we're saying, okay, yeah, after she goes through Pena, we have this fight, and the next thing you know, something crazy happens, similar to like the Rose fight to some extent, like a surprise. So hopefully they can make that. Hopefully Dana can get that fight to go at some point in time, definitely.
So with the next fight being Rose Namajunas versus Zhang Weili, last week I had came in here and predicted that Zhang Weili would come in here and dominate or win the fight in a competitive fashion. That did not happen. About a minute and 18 seconds into the fight, Zhang Weili was knocked out. And that was that. Like, she threw a few kicks and then she got caught. In my personal opinion, I believe that Zhang Weili got caught. I don't think it was because necessarily she was like bad or like, unprepared for the fight or anything like that. It wasn't really a lot of fight to really analyze anyway. She went in there, got kicked in the head. She was pretty much out. I think she got caught. I think they should run it back. That's just my opinion. And if they don't run it back, then she needs to fight like some contenders and then earn her way back. Maybe not run it back because it's not like she was champion for like some very long time. You know what I mean? But at the same point in time, I think that I don't think it's over for Zhang Weili. I think she just got caught.
I think that she definitely did get caught. It wasn't like a whole lot was going on in a minute's time. What I will say is I think Rose kind of found a tendency. You could tell that they did some game planning and they were studying some of her fights. Because if you was watching the build up to the fight, Rose was saying like, hey, we noticed that she kind of fights similar to, other fighters when it comes to standing up and then wrestling. And they were mentioning that. So if you're paying attention, it's like, okay, they're watching tape and they're watching her tendencies. So I think Rose saw something for her to land that head kick, because it didn't look like she just randomly threw the head kick and It just caught her. It looked like it was a well-placed head kick. Shouts out to Thug Rose. She did it again. And a lot of people went crazy for that moment. It was a good moment too. What I want to say though is I think who's next for Thug Rose is fucking the winner of the Carla Esparza and the other woman that she's fighting. I'm not familiar with the other woman she's fighting, but Carla Esparza, if she wins, she's next. And the reason I'm saying that is she's on a win streak. Also, she also beat Rose for the belt. That's how Carla Esparza became the champion. So if maybe Rose can get that one back and they can sell the narrative of like, oh, when Carla beat her, Rose was too young, et cetera, et cetera. I feel like that could be the fight. I mean, if you're talking about from a credibility standpoint, if you want to talk about from like marketing and selling pay-per-views, unfortunately, you would give Joanna another title shot, which I don't think she deserves it at all. But this is the UFC we're talking about. The main event, you saw a guy get a title shot when he didn't deserve it. So, but before I stop my take, the last thing I want to say is I kind of didn't like how the crowd was booing Zhang Weili because she's from China. I thought that was kind of lame. She doesn't seem like a bad person. She just seems like she wants to fight. She's not like political, like somebody we know. So she's just herself, you know what I mean? And the crowd was just viciously booing her because she's from China, and that sucks, you know what I mean? But she'll be back. I don't think her career's over, but I don't think she should get the next shot at the belt. I think she needs to win, at least a fight or two.
I agree there, where I don't think she deserves to get for them to run it back because she got caught. I do agree there, but it was you could tell that they had a game plan. Rose team had a game plan because even the way she got caught, it was a setup to some extent based off getting hit with the leg kicks. It was a lot of leg kicks. Granted, it's only 90 seconds. The fight was only 90 seconds, but getting set up with the leg kicks and the fact that Zhang Weili, she was trying to move. You could tell she was trying to move her body out the way because she thought it was a leg kick. And then Rose just switched it up and hit her with a hit kick, flushed her, knocked her down straight, right? So, I mean, to me, it was kind of like it's like a clear-cut finish to me at the end of the day. Zhang Weili, of course, she did say like she felt like the ref stopped the fight too early, which I don't necessarily agree. But I do agree with what you were saying also, Lau, where now that that fight is over with, I don't think she deserves I think Zhang Weili needs to fight her way back to that spot for a championship. But I do think you said it was Esparza that you think they should have a rematch. I think that might actually be a good rematch just because if they run it back, if they run that back, right? Okay, Rose wins the title. She fights the girl that she lost the title to. And let's say it's a competitive fight. And let's say in the world where it's possible, Rose loses that fight, right? Now you have a great setup for a trilogy if it's a competitive fight. So because personally, don't get me wrong, Joanna, cool, but I don't really want to see her. I really don't think she deserves to be in the fight in contention for the title at the moment. So, but it's all I can say is congratulations to Rose. Like she came out in the beginning of the fight screaming that she was the best before the fight happened. And
shouts out to Pat Barry.
Yeah, for hyping her fiance. Yeah, he definitely great coach from the mental aspect. He was like, I've been telling you this shit for years. You're the best. And I'm like, shouts out to him.
Yeah. And because that's the type of thing you need and she still dates. That's who she dates too, right?
That's her fiance, whatever.
Fiance. Yeah. So like shout outs to him just from the both perspectives of being a partner as well as a coach, because like for even as a coach, at the end of the day, like you need someone like that in your corner to help mentally prepare a fighter, especially someone like Rose, who we've seen her history. Like she deals with a lot of stuff at some point in time. So, and even I think when she was champion before, she came with the excuse of like not excuse, but she said she had a lot going on in her life. And that was the reason why she ended up, and she couldn't take the pressure of it. So to come back and reclaim the title and really believe like, yo, I'm really the best in the world, because it's not easy to win the title once, let alone to come back and build and fight and claw your way back to being in contention for a championship with someone that they argued may be like one of the best fighters in the league. So
yeah,
in my opinion, though, if she were to fight Carla Esparza next, like I've bet against Thug Rose like quite a few times, like leading up to this fight, and that is not a fight I think she lose like at all. I think she's going to go in there and put hands on her for real, like similar to the way, like similar to the way Kamaru Usman did in the main event last night. You know, we all saw it, knocked the Sprite off his head, you know, all that shit. You know, like it was crazy. Like, well, I'll let you start because I want to hear what you have to say, and then I'll give my words.
All right, so what I want to say is we gave Kamaru Usman his respect, but to the people that are still talking shit on him and the casual fans, I guess, you have to give the man his respect. He put motherfucking Masvidal in a coffin and put his dick in the dirt and knocked him stiff, and it put him 6 feet under. And there's nothing that a motherfucker could say about it now. No toe stomps, no holding him against the fence and pressing him. No, he knocked his ass out clean. He knocked the motherfucking sweat and hydration off of his ass thoroughly, strongly, and everything. So I just feel like everything is just good. I think everything is just. I'm gonna let you guys speak for a little bit.
I feel you, man. Like I can't say that. Like he definitely came through and delivered. We definitely saw how Usman, like he came through. He didn't, like Lau said, there was no foot stomps, there was no snooze fest, there was no snooze fest 2021. He with the card, the way the card was already, there was so much, it was so amped up, and this was like remind the listeners as well that this was like the first UFC fight with fans since COVID-19.
True.
So like the energy was so high, and I mean the casual fan may have rolled the dice thinking it would be a snooze fest, but Kamaru came through and he just outclassed, even though like I think the one thing, granted he did win due to stand up. The one thing I would say is like Kamaru's with every fight, Kamaru's getting better, and even he said so. And I think after watching this fight, I think he'll recognize there's some holes even in his stand up that he'll come back, he'll go back through, because there was certain things he was doing in stand up that kind of looked like, hey, if
in that first round, right?
Yeah, it was certain points where he's like he had his guard open and he had his head down. I'm like, well, we know Masvidal is going to try to go for a knee. So it's like he had his number that night, but it's just one of those things where he'll just keep tightening up his game, which is going to make him scarier within the division.
Yeah. So, my bad, Nigel. I agree with your takes, man. I think one thing that we have to acknowledge, what a lot of people is not acknowledging, is that so like, you know, Masvidal say that, you know, he didn't respect Usman's striking, his stand-up, his power, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, good on him, because he learned a very hard and real-life lesson. Yeah. So, but what I want to say is in that fight, like especially in the first round, Usman kept touching his legs. He kept feinting the takedown and stuff like that. And he kept threatening it. But you know, Usman was cracking him with a straight, he was cracking him with a jab throughout that first round. And Masvidal, he just kept sticking his tongue out, you know, like, that shit don't fucking hurt. And Usman was kind of like, all right, motherfucker, we're going to see as this fight come along. I'm going to get you with one that you're not going to be doing that. And the one that got with him ended up, you know, he made a fucking meme out of Masvidal. So to me, I just think that, we have to respect Usman's now, his striking, because now, yes, he's not going to come in there and be a phenomenal boxer, but he got the fundamentals and he can mix it up really well. Because remember when he took down Masvidal, he didn't even take Masvidal down off of shooting on him. He fucking gripped his ass up in
planted his ass down
and planted his ass down. Exactly. So it wasn't like
I was impressed.
This dude, yes, I was impressed too. My bad, Nigel. My bad, man.
No, you're good, because everything you were saying was important. And it's funny enough because I saw something on Twitter where they had shown Kamaru Usman moved Jorge Masvidal's hand out the way, and then he caught him with the right. So that's showing that his striking is getting to a point where he can do that. Now, mind you, I believe Jorge Masvidal did not take this fight seriously at all. And I think that his training was probably lackluster. I think that plays a role in here, because don't get me wrong, Jorge Masvidal, he goes in there, he talks shit, he sticks his tongue out, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, cool. But he got caught bad, like real bad. I think the last time I saw Jorge Masvidal get caught like this was when Michael Chiesa put him down a long time ago. You know what I mean? Like Jorge Masvidal, he might be a lot of things, but he's not a slouch. And it's like, wow, like we either need to give Kamaru Usman a hell of a lot more credit for his striking, or we need to say, hey, Jorge Masvidal, you need to like, you know, shape up for your next fight, which in this case, I think we can do a little bit of both.
I was going to say, my bad. Go ahead, Spence. Go ahead, man.
Well, I was going to ask you, because I didn't really keep up with everything throughout the week. Why do you think that Masvidal didn't take the fight too serious? Like in terms of like in preparation?
In my opinion, I don't think he took it seriously because it seems like he was trying to buy his way out of or already convince the people, hey, if he loses, it's all right. Saying, hey, if you weren't there for me when I was 45 and 50, don't be there for me when I was like 49 and 48 or some shit like that. Like, it's just like you're pretty much already predicting your loss. Like, it just seems kind of weird for fighters to do that when they're heading into a championship fight. You know what I mean?
I think that motherfucker Masvidal knew that he couldn't fuck with Usman. I think he knew. And I'm going to say that because, like, if you look throughout the fight, you know, he kept selling this whole thing about, like, oh, his softest punch, you know, it must hurt for a man to know that he don't got it in him to put somebody's lights out. And then he even said it when Joe Rogan was interviewing, oh, we was just worried about the wrestling. You worried about the wrestling. And I'm like, look, dude, you know, kudos to you for being humble. But at the same time, like, let's be real. Any elite fighter is going to expect every aspect of the game. Like, we know Kamaru Usman is a legitimate threat when it comes to grappling and wrestling. He has 100% takedown defense. That says a lot for somebody, you know, when it comes to fucking grappling. Now, you're telling me that your whole game plan and your whole thing was going to be fucking wrestling after this guy? He knocked out Colby Covington. He knocked out Gilbert Burns. You sitting there and you're sleeping on his striking? Like, I think
you're right, though. That's a very valid point.
I think
that's true.
I think he was just selling a narrative. I was telling Nigel, I can't remember, it was last night or early in the week, but I was telling him, I was like, man, it looked like he was just like, hey, I'm in here for another payday. I'm getting a title fight. And I'm not saying that Masvidal threw the fight or nothing. No, I think he clearly got his ass beat fair and square. But I think he knew, like, it's like it's going to take for Usman to make a mistake for him to knock him out. Because Usman was making mistakes in that, and towards the end of the first round when he was like winging them fucking hooks and overhand rights and shit. And I'm like, somebody with more precise striking could shoot right down the barrel and at least crack Usman with a few shots. Masvidal wasn't doing that. He wasn't doing that. And I don't think he was doing that because, you know, he didn't see it or nothing like that. I think he was doing that because he knew, like, he was going to give himself up a takedown or something like that. He knew he couldn't fuck with Usman, man. He talked his way into this championship fight, and Usman proved why he was the better fighter. And what happened last year with him getting 50-43 or whatever, it doesn't matter, toe stop or not. He wasn't beating Usman, man. He just wasn't. I just thought a whole lot of credit to Usman because I thought it was going to take Usman to put him away in the 4th or 5th round.
I didn't think it's going to happen.
I didn't know Usman was going to put him away in the 2nd. And it wasn't like from some lucky ass overhand right, praying for the best. No, he hit him with a straight right. After what Nigel said, it looked like he threw a bullshit jab, but he really caught his hand to crack him because Masvidal was throwing left hooks and shit like that. That if you watch the fight, that's what Masvidal was doing to counter Usman's jab, the left hook. And he grabbed the fucking hand and jammed his ass. Like he knew. Yeah. He bit his lip and everything because he knew. He's like, yeah, motherfucker, this is the one. Here goes some melatonin.
I'm proud of Kamaru Usman, man. Like, I'm just like, wow. Like, you put his ass to sleep. You evaporate or what? Took the moisture out of his head. Like, all that shit. Like, it was fucking great. Baptized him. Like, kudos to him, man.
I was hyped, man, because like Masvidal, he was talking a lot of shit, man. A whole lot of fucking shit. He was saying, like, you know, this guy punches soft. All I have is a bruised pinky. He's not man like me. This Nigerian dude from Africa, he ain't got nothing on me. No, man, this guy was talking so much fucking shit. And I'm like, how fucking poetic is it? The street Jesus guy who's claimed to be the vicious, violent knockout, got violently and viciously knocked out last night.
Yeah, like I mean, it's all full circle. Like it's all full circle because you did realize that like even Masvidal said he had his number. Like he had his number, and like there's nothing else to be said but that. Like he had his number, and there was nothing that he can do about it. It doesn't matter what game plan he could have came up with. Even whatever game plan he had wasn't efficient enough. And just the knockout in itself. Like I was going through my phone and I just saw different people I didn't even know who watched the UFC like that were just saying like, yo, this was like one of the best fights I've ever seen. And I think this knockout that Usman just delivered to Masvidal is going to be the one of the career changing fights for him, because I think this is about to allow him to ascend into that next level, because we already know at the pace that he's going, more than likely, because Dana's already said he wants to give Kobe the next fight with Usman, and I personally believe it's going to be a repeat of last time. If anything, probably more on the ground as well. But at this rate, they're saying like he's looking to be hitting the streak. He might end up breaking the streak of Anderson Silva at the pace that he's going, and which could arguably put him as one of the greatest of all time. So and not now, but I mean, there's so much more that has to be said and done before you can get that to get that title of the GOAT. But at the pace that he's going, he's looking to ascend. He's ascending into another level of greatness, as well as now having the pride of like the country on his back, Africa as well as in the States.
Well,
I mean, he's pound for pound number one right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, he is pound for pound number one. And I think if he keeps on losing, if he keeps on winning, we're going to have to really talk about him in like a different echelon of like fighters and whatnot. You know what I mean? Like he's doing things. Lau said it last night. GSP wasn't going around knocking people out like that. Not on a consistent basis. And he just knocked out his last two opponents. You know what I mean? Like dominating, like just really doing things. He's about to beat some records. Like we're gonna have to start talking about Kamaru Usman differently if he wins like one or two more fights. That's just it. Like people really need to respect him.
Absolutely. So I got a question for you guys before we move on. So with that being said, right, we said what we had to say about Usman. I think we all can agree that Masvidal, as long as Usman is the champion, he'll never have a championship fight again. Unless it's like through the luck of the MMA gods and he just clears out. He fights whoever Dana puts in front of him moving forward.
Yeah, he's not that lucky.
Exactly. So I wanted to know based off what we saw last night, what do you think is the best option for Masvidal moving forward?
I was thinking about this a lot, and in my personal opinion, I think Masvidal should take a little bit of a break. I don't think he necessarily needs to stop fighting, but it's like, hey, you got knocked out cold last night. You know what I mean? And if you say that's because of lack of preparation, that's all on you. That's all a mental thing. You know what I mean? It's not like you were injured. You went in there and you got beat badly. So it's like, in my opinion, I think he's made a little bit of money. He's not going to get another title shot soon. He's not moving back down to lightweight. He's not moving up to middleweight, in my opinion. I think he needs to take a break and really figure out some things.
The chapter has closed on the Street Jesus fairy tale. It's over. Usman, he wrote the last chapter and he closed the book and shipped it off. And now Usman is the New York Times best-selling author because he put a twist in the end to that fucking story. So I think Masvidal has one more big money fight payday left in him, and it's against Leon Edwards or Nate Diaz, the loser of that fight, of course. I think the winner of that fight is going on to fight the winner of Kobe and Usman. The loser, they could, do some marketing machine type shit, and they could make Masvidal look glorious, and he could get one more big payday. But his title thing, his dreams and hopes, he's like you guys kind of alluded to, he has to clear out the fucking division, which I just don't think he has the style to. You know what I mean? He lost to Usman twice. I don't think people remember this, but he lost to Wonder Boy You know what I mean? At this point, I don't know if he could beat Kobe. Not saying that Kobe will knock him out, but I think Kobe can just out wrestle him.
Styles.
Yeah. So Masvidal, I think he should take the loser of Kobe. I mean, the loser of Nate and Edwards. Yeah. But I think if he fights again, he needs to fight later in the year, probably like November, December. He doesn't need to rush into another fight so soon. He needs to recover. He needs to go back to his coaches and he needs to evolve his game. Like, give up the whole street Jesus, I'm a thug. You know, I'm trying to be like Connor and Versace Rope. Give all that shit up, man. Go back to the dungeon and work on your craft because the time is up. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, like I mean, I think you guys make both good points. I agree. I do agree. Like he probably does need to take a break, as well as even if that break is from what's now April. So even if the break is from now to like sometime later in the year, I think that'll help him. And I agree. Like even if Nate Diaz loses that fight against Leon Edwards, that probably will be his best opponent to go against because they can run it back for this make believe title of the BMF. Or if all of that fails, and if all of that fails, he could always get a payday trying to fight like Jake Paul or somebody. To be honest with you, like
I mean, he was supposedly training him.
Oh, he was.
You don't remember he was supposedly training him for the Ben Askren fight? They were
I didn't.
Quote unquote talking on the phone.
Hey man, listen, that might be the fight to make because I mean we already know DC's not fighting him, despite DC did confront Jake Paul last night. So like that might be a viable option. Like did you guys catch that though last night with DC and Jake Paul because they had an exchange of words over the week? Like to me it was nonsense. But
I saw it and good on DC for from a man-to-man thing, good on DC for checking him, you know, just letting him know like, hey, you know, you're really not about nothing. But at the same time, Jake Paul, Dana White said it best. Jake Paul is doing a good job of grabbing the attention of people, you know, because anybody with common sense knows like, hey, you know, this guy's writing a bad narrative. He's, you know, he's not fighting real boxers, or if he's fighting people, they're not known for stand up at all. But we will never see Jake Paul fight somebody that's going to beat him the fuck up. We will never see it. Jake Paul put a little reaction video, said, oh, I told DC send the contract. For what? DC is not going to step in the boxing ring to fight you. DC doesn't need a huge payday. He's not Ben Askren. DC was getting $1 million before he retired. You know what I mean? He doesn't need Jake Paul. And I think if DC were to entertain it, if I was DC, hey man, just come to MMA. You know, come fight me in UFC. Or if he really want to fight, because I could tell this is just for a show, just come to the gym.
Well, here's my thing, right? DC
That's the real part.
Pretty much putting him in his place, you know, like as he should be. But it's like Jake Paul, in reality, out of all the people he could pick a fight with, is DC really the dude? You know what I mean? So he's just choosing a name that a lot of people know, one of the most popular heavyweights in the past few years, and picking a fight with him. DC never realistically would fight Jake Paul or his brother for that matter. Like, it's just that they're just doing what they do. They need to stick with the Dylan Danises and other people who they can fight, you know, just things like that. It's foolish. It's stupid. And it's just part of this little saga they have going on.
I thought you were going to say it's full of shit. I'm like, well, it is full of shit, but I thought you was about to say that.
Nah.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's a lot of BS, like, at the end of the day. I personally, like, I think even DC came out earlier this week and even said, like, you know, you don't even deserve the right to even fight someone like me. I'm too acclaimed. I have too much accomplishments that when we put our resumes next to each other, you don't even deserve to be in the same gym as me. Or even if in the same gym, if you're in the same gym as me, you're one of the people that pay the monthly subscription just so you can say, hey, I train at the same gym as DC.
Yeah,
so,
there
like,
you go. Yeah.
So it's like it's one of those type of situations. So I think, but similar to what Dana said, Jake Paul knows how to capture the attention of people. Even Adrian Broner came out earlier this weekend, had some words to say about that Ben Askren Jake Paul fight, just because of the amount of money he's making versus like the time that gets put in by these elite fighters, you know. So, but I mean, it's all for shock value. I hope Jake Paul, if he does continue to fight, he takes the steps that his brother did, at least by trying to fight an actual real fighter who will probably box his head off. Logan Paul and Mayweather are supposed to fight June 5th. Easy money grab for Floyd Mayweather, but I think most of us know that already. It's an exhibition fight, similar to his exhibition fight he had in Japan over, I think, last year or something like that. So.
But shouts out to Logan Paul for at least like being a little bit less annoying and a little bit more entertaining and actually fighting somebody with some actual boxing experience. You know what I mean? I don't agree with the fight. I think it's kind of dumb. I'm still gonna watch it, but I think I'm not gonna lie. It is what it is. I mean, but. Yeah. It's like at the same point in time, like if I had to choose one of the Paul brothers, Logan Paul is at least a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for?
Credible.
Not even credible, just a little bit more, I can deal with him a little bit better.
Hey, man, fuck him too. It's a facade.
Fuck Jay Leon Love.
Yeah, but the corny ass guy. Anyway, but it's a facade, man. It's a facade. Like the whole thing is a bullshit, and people can't see over the smoke. Like it's fucking crazy. Like he's fighting Floyd. Yeah, Floyd is obviously arguably the greatest boxer of all time, depending on who you talk to. Right. But at the same time, it's just like we know he can't beat Floyd. I'd have more respect for the Paul brothers if they're fighting boxers on their level, amateur boxers becoming pro, or boxers who have 2 or 3 fights who's actually been boxing their whole life prior to them becoming professional, not fucking random YouTuber who plays video games for a living and then he decides to be a professional boxer to get some quick money. Like obviously he's fighting Floyd. That's what Jake Paul was trying to get with DC. Hey, I know you're going to beat me the fuck up. And I know I don't have a chance in hell. If I could get you in a ring, I'm going to get rich. And this is what this is. I'm going to get rich. It's a get rich scheme. And Floyd is going to do it because you know how Floyd is. Hey, man, if it's talking money, money talks, bullshit walks. So I'm going to entertain this. I'm going to do the same thing with the Japanese guy. I'm going to let him flop around and give people a false sense of hope. And then I'm just going to put him away. Like, so, Floyd, if he's stealing people, he's continuing to steal people's money. Logan Paul, he finally got in the business of corruption. So he's starting to understand the game. So it's just kind of like, it's bullshit. I'm not giving him no credit. I'm not, man, let's move on, man. Cause he's fucking.
Listen, man, like, I mean, but see, even then, like, I'll be honest with you. That's how you know they're doing their job right at the end of the day, because even the emotion that it invokes is what's actually going to fill the seats, unfortunately. And like, I mean, I feel as though the narrative that will be ran for that fight will be, the real fighter, the arguably one of the greatest fighters of all time, the greatest defensive fighter of all time in boxing history, is fighting some YouTuber for a quick cash grab. And I'm not even mad at Floyd for it, just because, hey, I think Jake Paul, I think he said he made like 60 million or some wild. I might be wrong. Listeners correct.
Dana White doesn't believe him.
Yeah, Dana White said all that was bullshit.
Oh, well, hey, listen, I'm quite sure with Floyd fighting, Floyd's going to find a way to make some of those numbers seem somewhat realistic, at least for his side, at least. So, I mean, it's going to be one of those things. I would like to see, if anything, because a lot of things were circulating over the week with Jake Paul when Tyron Woodley was actually in his when he actually had to watch him get his hands wrapped, and we saw the journeyman, otherwise known as Jay Leon Love, who claimed that he had a title, but he really didn't. He never had been a champion before. Last fight, he got knocked out clean. He tried to tell Tyron Woodley, hey, listen, you don't even know anything about these gloves, especially since Woodley had just gotten cut from the UFC. But let's be honest. Like I'll be honest with you. If anything, if on this card that they have, I would love to see that. Put Jalen Love against Tyron Woodley because I think, unfortunately, because Tyron has gotten cut from the UFC, he's never been a fan favorite. But now he is definitely. You can see he has garnered the love of fans. So I don't know. It's interesting. I'm curious to see what's going to happen, especially with Woodley now that he's been cut from the UFC. That might be an option for him.
Here's my thing, right? Like, people, I think they find Tyron Woodley at the moment to be somewhat of an easy target for, talking shit and whatnot because he's lost a lot in his last few fights and whatnot. And, I mean, it makes sense. But at the same point in time, I don't know who this Jalen Love guy is. But I do know that Tyron Woodley at one point in time was a relatively dominant champion. You can't just be some normal guy off the street and talk shit to him like you're going to go into a ring with him and, like, fuck him up. He's proven that he's not just some easy guy. You know what I mean? Even towards the end of his career, it's not like he's getting beat by slouches. Top five welterweights. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, yo, like, you should probably watch your mouth a little bit. And I don't know. It just seemed kind of odd for him to be talking shit to Tyron. They need to respect Tyron as well.
I think it's the whole thing. Hey, man, I'm getting the biggest paycheck in my boxing career. All I need to do is grab the pom-poms and wear the skirt for Jake Paul. That's all. So, of course, he's going to talk shit and gas himself up. I'm a world division champion. I'm signed with Al Heyman. Like, bro, who gives a fuck? There's plenty of people signed with Al Heyman, and nobody knows who the fuck you are. And the only reason why people know who you are is because of the little video clip that came out. And people are not impressed, and they're not going to be impressed, and they're not going to be tuning into your next fight neither, unless you are fighting like Tyron. You're not worth anybody's fucking money. You're not. I would never go out my way. I didn't even know this guy fucking existed. I thought he was just some fucking corner man. I didn't know. It turns out, no, the guy is actually a fucking bum. He's a bum boxer. So like man, fuck him. So he's part of that fucking Paul camp. So fuck him.
Nah, man. I can say I am familiar with who Jalen Love is. Just because, huh?
You a fan of his?
Anyway, I'm familiar with who he is just because of watching how Floyd used to have like those 24-hour things for build-ups for fights, and he always would show that was one of the fighters like years ago. He was pushing because he thought he would be one of these next fighters out of the TMT camp, but of course he didn't live up to that hype, of course, which we all kind of knew. But to be honest with you, this is the most his name has gotten circulated within the UFC. But not even UFC, just in terms of sports. But at the end of the day, he just reminds me of like one of those coaches in high school that just is talking, telling kids like, back in the day, I was the champ back in the day when nobody has a credible source because there was no internet. So he's like. We all know who he is, so there's not much more to be said. I do have a quick question on Woodley, though. What do you guys think is the next move for Woodley now that he's been cut?
I think if he wants to continue his MMA career, which I don't think he should, I think Bellator is going to be the best home for him. He'll be able to get some wins under his belt. I'm not saying they're going to be easy fight because a lot of people are sleeping on these Bellator fighters, or the PFL, he'll be able to get some fights, wins under him. I just think that Tyron should start doing celebrity shit now. You know what I mean? Hey, maybe do a celebrity boxing match, et cetera, et cetera. Or if you do go into MMA, just do one of the two lesser leagues, PFL or Bellator, and hopefully you could get some wins under your belt. But him being a champion or him being a top draw or whatever like that, those days are over for him. I would like for him to stop fighting, maybe go into coaching more and all that. But obviously, you know how it is with these fighters. They can't leave fighting alone because it's kind of like that's all they knew. So I hope whatever Tyron does, he becomes successful in it. Because unfortunately, he really had a bad downslope, and some of it was his own doing, and some of it was just like he just got beat by better fighters,
Right.
I think that if Tyron Woodley wants to fight for money, then he should just go and knock out Jalen Love real quick. And I think if he actually wants to fight in MMA, he should go to the PFL or Bellator. I was watching the PFL event, and they have some pretty cool things going on over there. Anthony Pettis just recently lost in the main event over the weekend, and I think he can go over there and be a name in there, and be on ESPN and really do some stuff. Because
right.
the PFL Bellator, like especially PFL, I was watching their event. I was like, hey, I kind of like what's going on over here. I think Tyron Woodley will be great for that. Me personally, I think that if he's fighting MMA, he won't be fighting the top competition. So it's like, why are you really fighting that? But if you're fighting for money, just go and knock out Jalen Love really fast. It'll take like a minute, I'm sure. You know what I mean? Like, just go in there and do your thing and then get out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even want Tyron to entertain that in boxing. I would, man, that's the thing about it. I seen a post. This is the last thing I'm going to say about this shit. All these fucking pussy ass boxers, man, coming out and saying, oh, these MMA fighters can't fight, no head movement, blah, 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 looping punches. But they're baiting them in the ring. They'll never, ever fight them outside of a sporting event. They would never come to the gym, let alone fight them in MMA, period. They would never do it. And I wish these MMA fighters would stop going over there. And I know why they are, because of the money. But this is why I think Dana needs to start fucking backing up the Brinks truck for some of these fighters like Jon Jones, man. Because when you do that, you're going to start having an MMA fighter that's like, hey, man, suck a dick, boxer. You want to fight me? Come over here. Because I remember back in the day when Dana was like, hey, Floyd, you want to fight Sean Sherk? Oh, no, Dana, I respect the MMA fighters. I respect them. So I just think that the shit is just fucking, these MMA fighters need to stop going over to boxing. Bring their pussy asses over. And how do you guys feel about Jon Jones refuting Dana White's claim, since we're talking about money?
I think it's interesting that they even said that. I wonder who threw out the number 30 million. Like, I wonder if it was a part of the UFC, if it was Jon Jones's camp. I don't think that number is honestly ridiculous. I think it's a lot of money. I don't think he would ever get it. I don't blame him for asking for it. But I don't necessarily think on the general scale of things it's ridiculous, but I think it's not attainable. So, I mean, like, I think it's interesting to hear the number being thrown out so large at the beginning. You know what I mean?
After watching UFC 261 with fans there in the crowd, that number makes a little more sense. If there's a crowd, it'll be a blockbuster pay-per-view, as well as you'll actually be able to have like some sales inside as well, within the arena as well. But even then, though, it's all hearsay, because even like John has said, he's denying that number was a number that they requested for. It may have been a number that came up, and maybe it could have been like, hey, like, oh, he deserves 30 million, or like, oh, he could easily make $30 million off the fight, and Dana probably took it some way. You know how things can happen when it's a series of communication through different people. So after seeing the event last night, I do think that number is a lot more obtainable than ever before, just because of the hype behind Francis, the hype behind John, the hype behind having fans actually being able to pay to come to a fight. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, if the event was near me and I can afford to go to watch the fight live, I would pay to go watch that fight live. I would just need to get my shots first. So,
picture this, y'all: Jon Jones, Francis Ngannou, Kamaru Usman in Africa.
And then if we put Stylebender on that card, also.
Yeah. I think that 30 million might be excessive for Dana, what he's willing to pay, but 30 million to me is not that far-fetched for Jon Jones. But John said he didn't ask for it, so I wonder if he asked for like 20 million, 15 million. I think that Dana needs to just, hey man, just back it up. Back the truck up for John, man. Like, come on. Like, you have arguably the biggest heavyweight title fight, probably title fight ever in UFC history. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody wants it. If the man wants fucking 20 to 30 million, negotiate where he's going to get an 8-digit payday. Negotiate. He already said, hey, 8 is too low, 10 is too low. Negotiate for 15, 20, 25. Just pay the motherfucker, man, because this is a fight. What's gonna fuck around and happen? Francis is gonna knock out Derek Lewis and get his revenge for that. And then we're gonna get these bullshit fights that nobody wants to see with Francis. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't want to see Stipe and Francis for a third time. At least not right now. I want to see Stipe fight somebody else. You know, come on, let's get this Jon Jones Francis fight while we could still get it. This shit is just, it's just another drama to the Jon Jones Dana White beef.
Yeah. Well, listeners, there was a lot of physical action in the UFC, and if you happen to listen, watch, I should say, there was a movie that came out, Mortal Kombat. And listeners, we have another review for y'all. Unfortunately, this time, listeners, it is not a happy one. This movie was shitty. I did not enjoy this movie. I personally consider myself like a decent fan of the franchise of Mortal Kombat. I'm into video games and shit, And I was watching it, and I kind of blame myself for having a certain type of expectation for what this movie could have been. And a lot of people compared this movie to Godzilla versus King Kong, and I wasn't expecting just some fun, let me turn my brain off movie for Mortal Kombat. I wasn't expecting The Departed, but I wasn't expecting a piece of shit movie. And you would think a movie with about like 30 years of source material, you would seem to kind of lean in towards that. Instead, what they did was jump completely away from it and just made, hey, we got a movie we want to make. We got an idea. Let's take your franchise and your property and just do whatever the fuck we want to do with them in this movie and make it however we want.
Yeah, I think the movie fucking sucks, and it's a piece of shit movie. Let's go with the positives first, because there's not many. The fight scenes, I give them thumbs up on that. They have good choreography. The action was nice. The visuals, CGI, whatever. I give them kudos for that. They did a good job with that. Fatalities, it was pretty cool. They had cool fatalities and all that. That's where the positives stop.
Sub-Zero.
Oh, Sub-Zero. Shouts out Sub-Zero. They booked him like he was the main villain of the fucking movie, even though he wasn't. But that's where the positives really stops, right? You have and Kano too. Kano was pretty funny.
Shout out to Kano.
Yeah. But the writing and the story, the writing and the direct, it was just bad, man. It's bad. Like, to really break it down, this has to be like a 30-minute review. Like it's and we don't have time for that, listeners, because we want to talk about other shit. But the writing of this movie was just fucking bad. It was just not good storytelling. A lot of things don't make sense. The original character, Cole Young, is a piece of shit. Universally panned character. Nobody understands why the fuck he was there. They didn't even have a tournament. The basis of Mortal Kombat is like, hey, we're on an island in a death tournament. They didn't even have a fucking tournament.
Shang Tsung popped up and said, hey, fuck the tournament.
Yeah. Hold on,
multiple times.
Time out. So I want to say this, right? So I watched the movie. It was all right. It was okay. Like, so for me, like let me tell the listeners this.
Okay.
I personally, as a kid, I didn't really play Mortal Kombat. I didn't play Mortal Kombat as a kid. I had to revisit some of the stuff as I got older, and I revisited, watched the movies and everything, the originals. So I didn't have my expectation wasn't as high as someone that was more knowledgeable. But I'll say this, like I fell asleep watching the movie. So like it was decent, but I fell asleep watching the movie. So I missed that part. So to clarify, because I've watched the original before, there was no tournament at the end of this, because I fell asleep probably like in the last like 40 minutes, because it's like a 2-hour movie. I fell asleep probably in the last 30 minutes or 40 minutes.
Nothing.
You missed nothing. There was no tournament.
That's
original
the purpose.
That's the purpose. The original movie. I'm not talking about Annihilation, because that's a piece of shit. one of the worst movies of all genres of all time. The original 1995 Mortal Kombat movie, it was centered around a tournament. Hey, we have a tournament, the best fighters in the world, and yes, there's going to be death involved. Even though the original movie didn't have like gore or whatever like that, it had a story which people appreciated. It wasn't the best movie of all time, but people think like, hey, this is one of the better adaptations of a video game movie. The main basis of Mortal Kombat is a death tournament. You know, fight to the death type tournament. And they didn't even have the fucking tournament. They added shit that nobody wanted or even cared or thought about. They added the bullshit with the birthmarks and all. It was just dumb.
Scorpion's
Kid. Like that was very unneeded. That shit made no fucking sense. It was just not a good fucking movie, man. It wasn't good. It's like, how the fuck you I understand it's not a video game, so you want to make it more like real life. I get that. But there's some things you just got to keep. Like, it needs to be a tournament. You don't need to add this generic character in the movie. You had Liu Kang. Like, you had fucking Liu Kang. Like,
there's a lot of problems with the movie. Like, the thing is that as far as adaptations and whatnot go, you can adapt something from the source material and change it. We've seen it plenty of times. Things just aren't the way they are in their books, video games, whatever they were adapted from. However, what you do when you go away from those adaptations is you either make changes that enhance the original story, or it's in a way that's different enough to where, hey, we can accept this because it is totally different and we are not expecting what we got. And just watching the movie, better yet, take away the fan aspect that I have. Spence, do you think that the main character in this movie, this fighter in this fighting tournament, should be taking fighting advice from his daughter to win?
Yo, listen, that part had me going.
Do the uppercut.
Yo, listen, that part in the movie had me going, right? So, and if you're here, you should already know that you've been spoiled.
Yeah, fuck that. We're getting into spoilers, yo.
Like the thing is, when I watched that part, right, this is when I knew, like, okay, something's weird about this movie, because he's an MMA fighter in the beginning,
getting his ass beat.
He was in a clinch, right? He came out blowing his load, then got in a clinch, and I was just like, his daughter said uppercut. I'm like, anybody that knows fighting, his hands aren't even in a position. He's not even in a position to, if anything, he should be defending himself, not trying to throw an uppercut. So it was like, that part threw me off. Even the fight scene with Hanzo, or Henzo or whatever, like when he's like, that part in that beginning scene, right, with Henzo, when he's fighting, he uses a sword, he throws a sword at the one dude in the crib. And I'm like, okay, you're not going back in the crib for the sword because, one, they'll have you trapped in a crib, right? But then he turns around and tries to, like, go and run to grab, like, this little blade and tie it or whatever. And I'm thinking, well, you just beat some of these people. Why don't you take one of their swords and just do what you got to do? So it's like, there were some inconsistencies of, like, how to make this, like, even more, like, epic. But I could tell, I mean, the world we live in today, especially when it comes to entertainment, is more about gore than a storyline, a great storyline. So, I mean, the daughter being his corner man was his daughter being his corner man is similar to what's Mike Perry and having his girlfriend.
Yo, that's exactly it. I was thinking the same shit. It's like, yo, this guy's supposed to save the planet. You know what I mean? He's supposed to save the world. And this guy can't fight, and he needs his daughter around to win. In the two fights he had, he won because his daughter, he lost the first one, and then he only won because his daughter was there. So it's like, yo, bro, come on. Like, I was getting mad. I was getting upset.
It was a very similar situation, though. Even like it reminds me of the fight last night with from 261, the crucifix. Like he even got put in a crucifix. Like it was like, okay, these parts are accurate, but other than that, it was a little spotty. But I'm gonna go back and finish watching the part that I fell asleep on. But I mean, I'll put it like this: as a person that's watched the original, I knew what to expect, and I had an idea what the storyline would be, and they deviated from that. So it is what it is. I mean, listen, all I can say is I thought Jon Jones was in the movie initially.
As Jax.
Yeah. I was like, no wonder why John's asking for so much money from Dana. Like,
Wow. He's going off on the side doing other shit. I was explaining aloud, like, this movie is like going to see a Batman movie, except the storyline is Batman trying to help Alfred with his drug addiction.
Yeah, you know how many people would be pissed off if the movie was centered around his butler? Like,
hey, I mean, how many people thought that Mortal Kombat would have like nothing to do with what it's originally about? You know what I mean? At all.
You have 2 days to figure out your powers before the fight starts.
Man, we could go on a tangent about that. That was bullshit. Yo, listeners, and
we'll give a real review one day.
Yeah, one day we will. But continuing the trend of reviews, on the positive side, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier show finally wrapped up. It's done. Six episodes in the can. You can all stream it on Disney Plus or whatever. Quick review so we could continue to move on with the episode. I think this is the best show on Disney Plus. I think this is the best product Disney has put out since the Avenger movie 2 years ago. This show is amazing. Cap is back. Spoilers if you didn't fucking know. Captain America is a black man, full force and fledged. No controversy about it. And to even put money in the machine that they're going to do with Anthony Mackie, they've already developing.
I need to see him as Tupac, man.
They're already developing a Captain America 4 movie starring him as Captain America, because he is Captain America. And Spence, I don't believe you saw the show. You need just go see it. You could binge watch all 6 episodes. Great show. Naja, what was your quick thoughts on the series?
I thought the show was dope. You know, like, I appreciated the fact that they actually made the Falcon Captain America. I wasn't sure if they were actually going to do it, but, you know, they did it. His costume looked cool. You know what I mean? Like, as a person who reads comic books and shit, like, I was kind of, kind of hyped to see him, like, actually in the costume that he had in the comic books. Like, it looked very representative. Like, this is what happens when you make good adaptations of shit. It actually kind of mirrors the shit that you originally made in some way, shape, or form. You know what I mean? Like, I enjoyed it. I'm not going to go off on a tangent. I thought the show was good. I thought all 6 episodes were good. It's leading into other things in the Marvel universe. If you don't have to be the biggest Marvel fan to watch it, it's great. You should check it out, for real.
Yeah. I haven't watched it, like Lau said, but I'm definitely going to check it out. Yeah, like, I mean, definitely knowing, like, with Anthony Mackie actually being the captain, like, this, that'll probably propel me to actually want to watch it even more. So, yeah, like, I mean, I know we didn't have this on the list as we're going in and out of different things. Well, did you guys have anything else to say about the file?
No.
I just want to mention this one thing. It's not up here. Anybody that watched Snowfall, the season finale just passed for season 4, and we'll have season 5 coming, I guess, sometime next year. I will say this: the way the episode ended, the way the season ended was amazing, as well as the way the last scene of season 4 with Franklin talking to Mel. I don't want to say too much because you guys still need to watch it. All I'm going to say is this: in season 5, we are getting a Franklin we've never seen before. That's probably going to be the most cold-hearted, just like I saw on Twitter. All they say is when he put down the cane, we knew. When he had the cane, we knew, hey, season 5 is violence. And that's all I got to say. Can't wait to see the next season. Anybody that's watched the show, Please tell me what you think, because I am not gonna lie, this was an amazing season. Kind of crazy how the season ended off, and actually, I want to know what people think. Fans listening, I want you guys to tell me what you think as far as what's going to happen between Franklin, his uncle, and Louis moving forward as well, and what you think will happen in terms of him and Mel. So, but other than that, speaking of like, because after that season, people were saying like this may be one of the new, like, Damon Idris may end up being one of the best black actors of like out of the youth. So with that being said, there's another great actor who's right now considered, he could possibly be considered like the Will Smith of his era, or coming to that fruition.
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan, tomorrow he'll be dropping his movie with Tom Clancy, Without Remorse. So I know I'll be watching it. I want to know if you guys will be, and if you have any thoughts on it real quick.
Yeah. I plan on watching it. I like Michael B. Jordan, you know what I mean? Women definitely like Michael B. Jordan for sure. And I think that, you know, a Tom Clancy movie like this is going to be something that's kind of dope, you know? So I'm excited.
Listeners, we will be reviewing the movie. So if you haven't watched it, just know this is your spoiler warning.
Listen, it comes out tomorrow. It's on Amazon Prime, I believe, correct?
Yes.
It should be. You'll be able to stream it through Amazon Prime tomorrow. So make sure you check it out, because Michael B. Jordan has not missed. Like, he's slowly but surely we're seeing him ascend to that fighter to that actor that people have categorized him as, in terms of like the next big star. So, and the funny connection between that and Snowfall, how Snowfall is compared to The Wire, and Michael B. Jordan started his career off The Wire as well as. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting, but I can't wait for that movie to come out though. Definitely.
So, listeners, earlier in the week, I saw a post on Instagram, and it was saying as to what the modern day rap Mount Rushmore might be. And I didn't make this Mount Rushmore, but I thought it was interesting, and I thought it might be interesting to talk to y'all about it. Now, me and Spence saw it, and the 4 names that they had on this Mount Rushmore were Drake, Kendrick, J. Cole, and the 4th name, which was the most interesting, was Kanye West. Now, Lau, you didn't see this list. Hearing that just now, what are your thoughts?
I'm not mad at it. Who would you replace Kanye with? I know you're not going to replace Drake, Cole, and Kendrick. I mean, if you replace them, the conversation's over. Have a nice day. But
right.
Well, I know Kanye is probably the controversial one because you named him last. I just can't imagine who would replace him with. You know, when we're talking about quality music and accolades, who can you replace Kanye West with? And I understand somebody might be like, oh, you know, you could put, you could put Lil Mosey in there. You could put
so Lil Mosey.
Lil TJ, and you know, because that's what these people like. Like,
well,
you know, like, all right.
Here's the way I saw it. Like, looking at that list, I don't really, everything you said about Kanye is true, right? So let's, forget that. But my problem with him being in this list is that as far as eras go, I don't think that's really Kanye's era. You know what I mean? Like, he was out like before them. So that's you know what I mean? That's just my opinion.
Yeah. He's still relevant. Go ahead, Spence.
He is relevant, but I mean, did he? Go ahead, Spence.
Well, I was going to say this, right? I agree there where it's not his era necessarily, but as a huge Kanye fan, I can say this. I mean, technically speaking, his best album comes out in 2010, which is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which essentially is it's a very
subjectively his best album. Some people think.
I mean,
it's number 2, if anything.
Subjectively, some people think Graduation is a better piece of work. Some people think
Hot Girls on it.
Some people think College Dropout is a better piece of work. Some people think Late Registration was a better piece of work. So let's say subjectively. I'm not saying that you're wrong, Spence. Well, I'm just saying it's subjective.
We can rank his albums now.
Listen. All I'm gonna say is this: if it isn't his best one, it's number 2 to Late Registration for me.
Yep.
So, but at the end of the day, I will say this. I think in terms of what a full Kanye album was, I think that was the pinnacle of Kanye's completeness in terms of what his music was, right? From just the lack of better terms, the graduation, from him graduating from one style of making beats with College Dropout all the way to getting to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And we can't forget the album that came before that is probably 808s and Heartbreak is probably one of the most impactful albums to hip hop due to the fact that Drake it allowed us to get the Drake that we got in so many words, right? But my opinion is I don't believe he should be on that Mount Rushmore, similar to what Nigel's prescription was of that, hey, his career he has a 20-year career, which is very hard to mimic for many artists. And Kanye, the thing about Kanye is that I can say is that he is a person that he puts out stuff that it's hard to digest in the moment. And then 2 or 3 years later, you realize he's created a new wave of something of influence. But, excuse me, like, my thing is that when we're talking modern rap and I'm talking who's the most to me, it comes down to like, okay, we have lyrics, but we also are talking, okay, Mount Rushmore, these are the most influential people. And I totally agree. Kendrick, J. Cole, and Drake all deserve to be there. And for me personally, I'm still trying to figure out who that fourth person would be. It's not going to come from a person that's lyrical. For me, it would probably be either the Migos or the Future. And I only say that just because
that's interesting.
And I say a reason why I say that is because when we look at music today, right? Atlanta runs everything. And Atlanta's been running music for like the past decade practically. But when you look at Future and the Migos, those two artists in themselves,
and
the whole
you gotta give Thug respect too.
Exactly, Thug as well. Thug deserves his respect as well. He even dropped Slime Season 2 Deluxe Edition, I think, or one of those things. He dropped the Deluxe over the weekend. Like, my thing is, it's like when it comes to those artists, like the landscape of music as a whole, sound derives a lot from them. It derives a lot from Future. It derives a lot from the Migos, whether it's the da-da-da-da-da-da style or the full embrace of auto-tune, right? Like those things were prior to Future, prior to Thug, like it lived. You had Kanye doing it, you had other artists doing it, but when you had the influence of Drake, who sung on records, an artist that only could rap, and they realized, hey, I can take this thing that Future does, the thing that the Migos kind of do somewhat with the auto-tune, and say, hey, I can take this and influence it into my style and craft what we have these artists as. Because let's be honest, most artists sound the same, but most of these artists sound the same because their style derives from either the Migos or Future to some extent. No matter how we cut the pie, they're just not lyrical rappers. And that's the reason why, for me, you can interchange either one of those for me, and I would have no problem with them being on that Mount Rushmore.
I think Future is actually a really good pick for the fourth spot, only because of the influence that him and like that type of rap has had. And he was like somewhat at the forefront of that, especially around like 2010, 2009. You know what I mean? So
yeah, right.
So like I wouldn't be mad at having Future in there. I was thinking about it, but I don't think it's a good place for the fourth, like would be Big Sean. But I was just like, I don't think he's had the influence that the first three have had. So it just feels like it's like his name doesn't fit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's like on this list, and shouts out to Big Sean, but it's like on this list, he does not fit. So I wouldn't be mad about having Future there.
Yeah. Like, and I'm a big Sean fan. No pun intended. I'm a big Sean fan. But yeah, I don't think he would fit the bill for it. He does have like I think he's had like a really great career overall, like a lengthy career especially. Ups and downs, but of course it happens to every artist. So, but yeah, for me it is Future. I would have to say it has to be Future. Like Future gave us what year was it? 2014, 2015. He put out like 3. I think it was Monster, Dirty Sprite 2. Like he literally controlled like
no, like
in 1 year. 2015. Like he controlled like the whole landscape of music for like 1 year, and then still like the residual of his run was still there. So like, I mean, I'm not mad at Big Sean. I just think, like you said, it's just the influence thing in comparison to like someone like Future, kind of like the Migos. So
Absolutely.
yeah, like so. Yeah, absolutely. But like, I don't know if you guys. Speaking of rap, right? Like, I'm not sure if you guys listened to it because I know we talked about Conway's album coming out last week. He actually did an interview with Bootleg Kev recently, and it came out over the past week. I was wondering if you guys had a chance to listen to it by any chance.
Yeah, I listened to the whole thing. I enjoyed the interview. Shouts out to Bootleg Kev because he's interviewing modern rappers and some old school acts too. So he's a good listen for everybody for rap music.
Yeah, like it definitely is. Like I will say this though, like from listening to that interview, there were some interesting things that I took from it. One being that his conversation on Griselda kind of growing apart because of like they're all, though we look at Benny, Westside, and Conway as kind of a group in a sense, they're just individual artists on Westside's album, on Westside's label. I was wondering, like, just hearing that, do you think, because like he said, like now everybody's too busy they're very busy in their own respects, right? Do you feel as though after hearing that, do you think what's to come from them will like it? Let me ask this. Do you think that after hearing that, do you believe that there will be less collaborations the further we go along? And because I think them as a unit was a thing that made us as fans really hone in on them overall.
I honestly, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I like them individually more than I like them together. I like their songs. Like I like the the onesie twosie songs they put out on each other's project when it's all three of them. I think that's cool. But to have for them to have like a trio album or something like that, I'm not really excited for that. Not saying I want to listen to it. Of course I would listen to it, but I just like them individually. I really do. I like Benny on his own. I think Benny's a monster. He's looking like, Conway said it best. Westside is the brains. Benny's the star. I'm the silliest with the bars, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just paraphrasing that line. He didn't say exactly like that. But anyway, I just like them individually. It doesn't bother me if they're not together on songs. I don't think it's the end of them. I think it was kind of taken way out of context, that headline. He was just kind of saying like, hey, we all got our own shit going on. It's not like, hey, we're beefing. Conway even said in the interview, hey, me sending those tweets out there kind of
threw the fans off.
Yeah, threw the fans off, kind of created a bad narrative. But realistically, it's not that they're apart. They're just doing their own thing. Like Conway got his own label going on. Obviously, Westside, he got his shit going on with Buffalo Kids, the fashion shit, his
Fourth Rope,
all that. You know what I mean? And Benny doing BSF. And plus Benny, he was working with Drake, working with other artists. He's taking, is hinting that he might work with Lil Baby and Lil Durk. So like they have different paths. I'm pretty sure they're gonna make music together again. I just don't think it's a big deal that we won't see another trio album or project as people may think. Because if you think about it, Griselda was always a label. It wasn't like a group. And people just kind of looked at it as a group, but it's really a label. Westside is the top guy. You have Benny and Conway under that, and they have their own subdivisions under that. Like they weren't like the Migos. The Migos, that's a group. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you said it. Go ahead.
Well, go ahead.
He just kind of summed it all up. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the way I think about it. Like whenever I hear songs where they're all rapping together, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That's a nice little treat, that they put on the album for us. But it's like, honestly, I'm not going to lie. When I listen to their projects, I don't expect to hear them all on the same songs all the time because I know that they are all individual artists and whatnot. Now, exactly like Lyle said, it'd be different if they're the Migos, but they're not. So, yeah, no, I feel the same exact way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I get it. I mean, I think, I guess for myself, I understood what he said. I understood what he said because, I mean, at the end of the day, we all know they're all individual artists. And I think that was a thing that made the allure so much better to some extent, where it's like, oh, all three of these guys rap. They rap great together, but they're also like hard on their own individual path. I think for me, the only thing that it kind of like it dimmed the light on for me was just that we probably won't get a What Will Machine Gun Do 2, which I thought was a really great project by them, and definitely at the time we had saw during that conversation about a year and a half ago where they were like, yeah, we're probably the best label out X, Y, and Z, and I mean now they're proving it. So it was just something I wanted to get you guys your takes on. But overall, I think it's a treat when I get all three of them on a song together because it's, I mean, as a fan, for me, it's a fan favorite of like being an original Griselda fan, right? Compared to like as Griselda is slowly starting to branch out and you have Drumwork, you have BSF, you have Griselda as a whole as a label, and you have Armani Caesar and so on and so forth. So it's just interesting though. But yeah, it was overall, I can say it was a good interview. He definitely was able to shed light on some things. I think the way the interview ended was it was very shocking because they actually found out in real, because I think Bootleg Kev was about to ask him a question about DMX, and then they found out that DMX had passed away live, like in real time during that interview.
Wow.
And they kind of, yeah. And after that, they were just like, yeah, I don't even think there's anything else to really say. There's nothing, you can't really continue after that. But he did say he was on, he had recorded some songs for X's album. So hopefully we get that treat as well at some moment in time. I mean, eventually this stuff will probably come out. It's just a matter of time. So, but yeah, like I don't know. It's one of those things. But other news in music, MoneyBagg Yo dropped the album. I think people should go check it out. It was a really good album. It kind of, to me, it was a really good album. It just shows similar to what we were talking about with like Griselda, where you have artists like someone like Yo Gotti. It reminds me of like, oh, someone like Yo Gotti is doing really well when you have artists like MoneyBagg Yo that are slowly but surely he's submitting himself within like this new era of rap music. So it's something to look out for, as well as Jim Jones. He dropped his own digital coin, his own cryptocurrency called CapoCoin. I've looked a little bit into it on Instagram. It looks like Jim Jones is trying. You can tell Jim Jones is definitely trying to make his way into this in this tech space. So it's something to look out for as well. So just want to leave you guys with those two things as well.
We had a weird situation on Instagram the other day. I guess entertainer is the best way to describe her. Little girl, little Tay was, they have put that some bad things have happened to her, and apparently, supposedly she's been abused by her parents and whatnot. And, definitely want to give a shout out to her and hope everything's well. It seemed kind of odd as to how they gave us the news. So the situation is definitely a little different, and we just hope that everything is going well for her.
Yeah, it's because I looked at I did see some things on Instagram, and I did see like it had something with child abuse, and she's been taken away from like her parents now, and so many other things. Like, I mean, I think there's more that needs to be seen in terms of like what's going on, because I think I read one of the posts, and I think they were asking fans to donate money so she could help get a lawyer or something to that nature. So, I mean, hopefully everything turns out for the best for her. It's unfortunate something like that has to happen to a child, especially when we found out initially about Lil Tay, because she was known for like running around flashing money, X, Y, and Z. And then we found out like, oh, it's her brother was the one. I think either her brother, her mother, or someone was like the one pushing her to have this image so they could kind of gain clout off of it. So it's unfortunate to see something like this happen to I guess, a lack of better terms, a child star or a child influencer, I guess you could say, or entertainer. So, yeah, entertainer. So But it's I'm not gonna say too much more, but yeah.
I hope Lil Tay, I don't know the young lady's real name, but I hope that she's gonna be doing well from a respectable standpoint. I hope that she's safe, and I hope that she's in better care than what was reported. As far as her Instagram career or whatever like that, I have like no comment on it. Just stuff like that. I just feel like it's not needed to divulge in, because most people should know what it is. So I just hope that the young lady is in better care, and it's a shame that she has to go through that. And I don't think any parent should be, beating their kid viciously or nothing like that at all. So,
do we have anything else for the listeners, y'all?
Before we close out, I think we've covered since last year about the George Floyd situation, and just wanted to mention that the verdict finally came in on the Chauvin case involving the cop that was responsible for the death of George Floyd, and he was found guilty. So we just wanted to give the listeners just to cover all bases and kind of that full circle kind of be closed. The verdict came in and he was found guilty, and I'm not sure what I don't think he's been sentenced yet in terms of what he'll be getting, but I mean there'll be more news to come in terms of what that details. So
I hope they throw the book at him. That's my comment for that. But what I want to say before we get off this podcast is, listeners, April 30th, me and my boy Jack Suave, we were dropping our little project, Guitars and Bars. So everybody just tune into that. It's a little project. Nigel's on that mother effer. You know what I mean? The whole project, except for one track, is produced by me and Gilroy. So yes, we made our own beats. All the songs are written by us. No ghostwriters over here. All the songs are mixed and mastered by us. Home engineering. So April 30th, we dropping that shit. And that's what I want to say. So everybody look out for that.
Why are you lying to these people, man? You know I wrote most of that shit for you.
Yeah, okay.
It's like, nah. Yeah, April 30th, everybody go check it out. Guitars and Bars with the coziest of cozies and loud and well, go ahead.
Nah, I wasn't going to say nothing. Yeah, and Gilroy. Yeah, shouts out to the dog.
Yeah, so definitely check out for that. But trust me, any bars that you like off of there, by loud, I definitely wrote those. So,
that's crazy. That's a crazy claim to make. Any bar that he wrote that you like, I wrote that. I don't really have much to say about the George Floyd case. Definitely great that justice is being served in that situation, and they're going to sentence him in mid-June. So that's going to be something to watch and see as that happens. Listeners, you can follow us on Advise Highly on Twitter, Highly Advised Podcast on Instagram. Please follow the YouTube. We like seeing your comments, and we like talking with y'all. It's nice. Drink your water. Spence didn't say that this week. I was waiting for it.
I was about to. Trust me, I was going to get to it. I was getting to it.
Go ahead. Do your thing.
Well, listen, I was just going to tell them, wear your mask, keep your sanitizer, and make sure you drink your water. You got to have your skin clear. You got to be hydrated. You don't want to walk. You don't want to walk around this world dry like Masvidal after a nap, like
evaporated.
Yeah, exactly. Feeling like SpongeBob talking about I need water. You don't want to be that guy. So that guy or gal. So yeah, drink your water, wear your mask, keep yourself sanitized. Eat good, and until next time, you'll get a chance to talk to us again. The dynamic duo, the tag team. The measuring stick, the world tag team champions of the world.
What's the name of the tag team?
The General Consensus.
Hey, there we go.
The first tag team, well, technically second tag team to main event at WrestleMania, but the first cool tag team to main event at WrestleMania.
This ain't your Dudley boys, man.
Yeah, we're not the Dudleys. Yeah.
Listeners, this is the best hip-hop and MMA podcast that exists. You're not going to find one that is better than us. Please follow us. Please support us. You have been highly advised. You guys have a good one.
You've been highly advised. Shasha.